Is Jalen Brunson's shoe change gate all a giant conspiracy theory? What are some things that the Knicks can do to turn the series around against the Pistons? We're analyzing your YouTube comments on today's episode, so buckle up.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land, delivering all kinds of great Knicks playoff coverage right now. And he's Gavin Shaw, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster, and the Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast. And today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And we want to thank you all for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day. Whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube, we appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit that auto download function on your favorite podcast app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode, because there's certainly a lot of them right now. We're averaging like 7 to 8 a week right now, and I don't think that's going to slow down anytime soon. So definitely make sure you don't miss any of those. Get that auto download and a notification bell turned on today's episode. Hopefully you had your notification bell turned on so you could hear us roast you if you were in our YouTube comments. Well, maybe we'll roast some, maybe we'll agree with some. We're going to play a little game of buy or sell, pardon the interruption style, with your YouTube comments. So we got I think record-breaking amount of comments on our Game 2 YouTube video. So we figured, why not dive into these? We'll take a look at what you guys are saying and decide how we feel about it, if we're buying or selling the various things that you all are saying after Game 2 going into Game 3 for the Knicks. So it's going to be a fun episode, including a crazy, honestly, conspiracy theory about Jalen Brunson and his shoe swaps. So keep your ears out for that at the end of this first segment and beyond, because there's a lot of good stuff coming. But first, I wanted to remind you all that if all this isn't enough for you, your favorite podcast also now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the all new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. If that isn't incentive enough, you could potentially win a $2,500 Best Buy gift card, which you can spend on Nintendo Switch 2s. You could also get a $300 Game Time gift card or a $200 Fanatics gift card if you sign up anytime from now until April 30th. So definitely get signed up again at lockedondaily.com. But Gavin, without further ado, let's get into these YouTube comments. So I'm going to just read some comments. These people did not, unlike yesterday where people submitted mailbag questions, these I just decided we're just taking these regardless. You know what? You're putting these up on the internet. They're for free for us to take if we want. So let's get into some of these comments and figure out where people are standing after Game 2. So Shaquem Avery on YouTube says, honestly, I do not see Brunson changing. He is selfish. And if I was the rest of the team, I wouldn't play hard either if I wasn't going to get touches. Who does Brunson think he is? I would fire Tibbs and I would have a team meeting immediately, because if they don't talk about this, the team is going to play worse. Who wants to play for a ball hog? They played better when he was hurt. So lots to chew on there. It sounded like, I don't know, like a George Costanzian rant, frankly. But Gavin, are you buying or selling that the Knicks played better when Jalen Brunson was hurt?
There's some merit to it. They had, I think, a plus 5.8 net rating when he was hurt, and they have been around a 1, if I'm remembering correctly, like when he's been on the court. But do I buy they have a higher ceiling or they don't need Brunson to win the playoffs? No, I don't buy that. I think that is completely ridiculous. I do think there's something to the idea that him being a little bit of a ball hog at times has a negative effect on his teammates. I don't know if it affects effort. I thought, honestly, like Mikal played his butt off yesterday. I thought OG played for the most part like exceptionally hard. Maybe Cat at times when he doesn't have the ball is not peak effort, but I honestly, like, we didn't get to touch on it because we were so focused on the Brunson stuff yesterday. He had, like, at the end of that game, I thought the single best defensive play I've seen from him as a Knick, like when Cade was driving and it was 92 to 86 and Cat stepped up, went straight up and down. And so often this year, it's been the most frustrating thing to me. Like Cat like almost jumps under the basket at times, and like he doesn't actually make contact with a player coming in. And he totally disrupted Cade, and it was a great contest. So that is a long-winded way of saying like I think it is not great for the psyche of everyone on the team. Maybe it affects some stuff on the margins, but I don't think like this team is psychologically broken because of Brunson's ball hogging. I just hope it's something that changes going forward.
Yeah, I think I think that there is something to be said that they did play more aesthetically pleasing basketball in some ways when he was hurt, but I don't think that they hold the ability to play better without Jalen Brunson than they do with Jalen Brunson. And I think all that comes down to coaching. So I'm going to sell that they overall played better or would play better with him not on the floor than with him on the floor. It's up to the coach to figure out how to make things work when you have two all-stars on the floor and a team that many figured would be one of the most talented teams in the entire NBA this year. That's kind of on the coach. Next statement or slash question. Well, this one is a statement. Askiani on YouTube said, it's a 7-game series where the Knicks are the favorites to win. I don't want the Knicks to win. I guess a Pistons fan here, but they are favored for a reason. Gavin, buy or sell that the Knicks are rightly favored the rest of this series?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel less confident after last night. I also saw, I don't know if this is going to come up later in our comments, but we got a lot of comments like Pistons have won 7 of the 8 quarters so far. And I've seen that come up frequently. And like, you know what? Like you definitely couldn't say last night was shooting variance, right? The Pistons shot even worse than the Knicks did from 3. Their 2 best shooters shot a combined 1 for 14 from distance. All that being said, like I still fall back on the talent thing. Like the Knicks just have the better players. So until the Pistons officially have a 2-1 lead or a 3-1 lead, like I can't go there and say the Pistons are favored. I will say I would give the Knicks more like a 60% chance of winning the series when I think coming in it would have been around 75 about. After game 1, I was feeling like 80. So it's gone down a little bit, but I buy the idea that the Knicks are still favorites.
I buy that they're favored for a reason as well. It's all the talent. I mean, this was sort of what I talked about with Koo last week when we were previewing the series, and he was asking me questions, and he was like, the numbers all suggest that the Pistons are the better team now. Like, especially than the Knicks have been since like January 1st. Like, how would anyone, including Vegas, be, confident that the Knicks are going to win this series? And the simple answer is talent. They have more talent. And if they use the talent, and they have a fully healthy roster full of talent, and if they use it to the best of their abilities, they should win. And it should not be particularly close, if I'm being completely honest. That's not a knock on the Pistons, but like they're a team that's making their first playoff appearance. They have players that are developing and they're turning great, but they're not quite there yet. They still have some discipline issues on the defensive end and stuff like that, things the Knicks should be able to exploit, and yet they haven't, because it's been, they have not been necessarily coached the best. But yeah, I'm buying that the Knicks are favored for a reason. It's because they have more talent. They just aren't using it right now. All right, our next one comes from Tom Hen 7435 on YouTube, who it was noted when I was copying this over, has been publicly subscribed to us for a year. So props to him for publicly associating with us. But
it's tough to do.
But Tom Hen says, I like this typo, so I'm leaving it. Bull hog Brunson, courtesy of Tibbs.
He is a bull hog. Sometimes.
He is a bull hog and a ball hog. It's a great thing that they didn't give this guy an extra $100 million. Gavin, are you buying that any amount of ball hoggery could make Jalen Brunson's contract not still one of the better ones in basketball?
Definitely not the current version with $100 million extra. Like maybe it's like if you want to go on the fact that small guards don't age particularly well. And I did say yesterday that I obviously want to see more, because it's maybe not a 2-game sample, because this has been an issue throughout the year, but I am wondering what is Brunson's scalability? Like we see him work great on a team last year that I think was perfectly constructed for him to shoot 30 shots and for it to be the right decision, and for the Knicks to even win games that way once all the injuries happen. I think this year's team is perfectly designed, honestly, for someone like Tyler Kolek. And there's a reason we saw this offense work beautifully with Kolek. That is not me saying that Tyler Kolek is in any universe in the same stratosphere as Jalen Brunson as a basketball player. I'm more so arguing that I don't know if Brunson with great talent, or at least the style of talent that the Knicks have accumulated, is necessarily like the best fit for Brunson or the best fit for the other guys in this team. And I look to his experience in the World Cup, which did not go particularly well, where he was also playing around a bunch of stars, because like maybe he needs to be really ball dominant to be the absolute apex best version of himself. And that's true for a myriad of stars throughout the league. Like Luka obviously does a lot of the same things. You just, both from an efficiency perspective and a distribution perspective, you have to be efficient enough to justify it. So all that, again, more long-winded than we intended. So I apologize to you, Alex, about that. But I certainly sell the idea that there's any world where his current contract could be anything less than a massive steal. I do think there's a world where if you got an extra $100 million, like I don't think you'd ever look back on it like poorly, but maybe you would say, is he in the tippy top tier of players who make max money? Maybe not. And I still think there's more to go in that story to finding that out.
I guess we'll see. Ultimately, even if he got the extra $100 million, he's still, I don't think, based off what he was making previously and how his contract scaled and everything, like with what percentage of the cap it would have been allowed to be and all that stuff. I still think he would be somewhere around like the 20th highest paid player in the NBA or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think no matter what his contract ended up being, he was going to be a valuable guy. I mean, he is one of the, I'd probably say top 5 scorers in the NBA at the moment. I mean, if you're just talking scorer, guy
Sure.
that can
Yeah.
put points on the board, he's that. And you can, I think we've also seen, I mean, to push back on your idea of like the passing and stuff like that a little bit too. We saw earlier in the season, like when that's what he was tasked with doing, he could be a floor general too. It's just Tibbs never asked him to do that at this stage in the season. But like the 17 assist game wasn't a fluke. Like, and all those various 10 plus assist games that he had this year were not flukes. He passed really well. So I'm selling a million times over that his current version is like somehow a fair contract. He's still grossly underpaid.
Yeah.
And even if he was making his max, he would not be overpaid. He would probably just be fairly paid given the current way that things are in the NBA. All right, last one for this segment. Actually, you know what? Let's save it for next segment. What a way to start next segment. We got a big old conspiracy theory to start next segment that we're going to be buying and or selling about Jalen Brunson's shoe swaps. Shoegate has a new wrinkle to it. So we're getting into that in just a moment when we get back in. But first, we wanted to let you know about our buddies at Amazon and specifically the Fire TV. Because did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 to Avowed. And I'm hoping Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered is on Game Pass because, of course, Bethesda is owned by Microsoft. So here's hoping, because I'm excited to play that game. But as easily as you stream your favorite shows, you can now play games as well. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And it's got the latest technology for elevated gameplay. So with Wi-Fi 6 or 6E and low latency mode, advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. Always great. Even just in a single player game now, that good frame rate and that 4K resolution. So everything looks as beautiful as it possibly can. But yeah, I love gaming on the Fire TV. I mean, it's pretty convenient to have a smaller device, and all I need is my Xbox controller, and I can play all kinds of games without needing discs, without needing tons of storage space. It was always a problem with my Xbox Series X, and now I can just stream the games and it runs just as good. So it's a pretty fantastic experience. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. All right, Gavin, we're back in to keep buying and selling, YouTube comments from our game 2 video. And yeah, like I said, you put something on the internet, someone might read it on a podcast. So, the next time you all want to make 140 comments on one episode, consider we might talk about some of them. Like this one, which was the most eye-popping one. I'm not going to lie. Tryflix Wow said the shoe swaps, meaning Jalen Brunson's shoe swaps that I've talked about in the last 2 episodes that he's done now in 2 straight games. He's run to the back and switched his shoes halfway through the game. And it appeared to really work in game 1. In game 2, it kind of annoyed me because it didn't really change anything. And he pulled himself from the floor, apparently to just go change his shoes. But so Tryflix Wow says the shoe swaps are a cover-up. He's getting cortisone shots to not feel his ankle injury. Simple as that. Just doesn't want to answer those questions. Gavin, buy or sell Shoegate being a cover-up for cortisone shots to Jalen Brunson's apparently not fixed ankle, according to this theory.
All right. I know I can tell from your tone you think this is ridiculous. I hesitate to go so far as to say buy based on that, but I don't know how insane. I mean, he did, like, obviously his ankle was bothering him in game 1, right? Like, he freaked out on that first fall, like went down a second time and was holding it. So it is an issue, and maybe he's just being just preemptively concerned about it or worried about it, but does seem to be an issue in some form or fashion. Does seem weird that he's changing his shoes every time. I think on the scale of conspiracy theories, this is not the craziest one I've ever heard. I'm ultimately going to sell it because it seems more likely it is just him changing his shoes, but I don't think it's impossible.
I'm going to sell strictly because I have received a cortisone shot once in my life, and you do not.
I haven't, so maybe I'm speaking from a place of ignorance. Yeah, tell me about it.
I have had a cortisone shot once in my life. I had it in my knee. They use the biggest needle possible. Not to be too graphic, but they basically, with a knee, inject it directly behind your kneecap. And it hurts a lot. And it basically feels like you have like a golf ball inside of your knee while the medicine dissipates. And you can hardly walk when it first goes in. The effects of it take effect like the better part of a week later. So if Jalen Brunson has been getting cortisone injections into his ankle, those were prior to the games. They're not doing that in the middle of the game. So I'm hard selling the idea of a cortisone shot. Maybe a painkiller shot, but I don't think that they really do as much in terms of like localized pain shots and numbing shots anymore because they're frankly dangerous. Like if you numb a body part and then go out and play on it, you can potentially injure it way worse because you can't listen to your body anymore. Maybe if this was game 7 of the NBA finals and his ankle was bothering him, they might do that, but I don't think they would do that in today's day and age, because I think that by and large, like, you generally want people to just naturally feel good, and and maybe he'll take like a little anti-inflammatory or something like a Advil or whatever, but I don't think that he's getting like heavy duty painkillers or whatever injected into his ankle. So I'm hard selling this, especially the cortisone part, because cortisone hurts like a MFer when you get it, and he definitely would not want that if anything was bothering him. All right, next one comes from Lincoln Swabby, I guess, on YouTube. What is the purpose of having a coach if the player are just doing their own thing? Gavin, I'm choosing to frame this one as, has Tibbs lost the locker room, buy or sell?
So we talked about this last show, so I won't totally belabor it. I'm going to sell the idea that he's totally lost the locker room. I'll buy the idea that he's lost some individual players a little bit, and we mentioned last time, but I think Cat's comments, Cat's usage are indicative of that to some extent. I also just think all these guys are hyper competitive, and you're generally not going to get super happy quotes from a guy who didn't shoot the last 17 minutes and is getting $50 million mainly to shoot the basketball because he is one of the most special people to shoot a basketball that has ever walked this planet. So I'm going to say overall, these guys are buying in. I do think we've seen stuff all season, though, to indicate that it's not 100% there. Like the biggest indicator to me is how terrible the transition defense has been. Like I have a million critiques of Tibbs. Generally, like his teams nailing the little details defensively are not one of those critiques. and they've been bad at that all year. They continue to be poor about that in this Pistons series. Some of it is JB Bickerstaff scheming up good stuff, but like the fact that like Malik Beasley is still getting free in those situations is troubling to say the least. So this is a soft sell for me. I think there's an element of truth there.
I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it, and it just and basically the same thing as what you're saying, except for I'm just gonna say I'm buying it because I think if you're at this level of the season and your coach doesn't have total buy-in from the whole team, then they may as well have no buy-in from anybody because it's a 5-person game. I think we're seeing play out in real time that, if everybody's not on the same page and if Tibbs doesn't have them all prepared and if they're not all ready, willing, and able to like lay it all on the line for this guy in the playoffs and believe in what he's got them doing, like it's going to be a crap product for a lot of what's happening on the court. And like, I feel like that's where we're at right now. So sort of like your chain's only as strong as your weakest link, or like your team is only as strong as your least bought in player. And I think there are a number of players that are really not bought into what Tibbs is doing right now. So I'm gonna buy that he's lost the locker room in the sense that, if you don't have total buy-in, you don't really have any buy-in. All right, next one comes from Sean and one, who says, my question is, why does Tibbs never run a zone defense? This team, meaning the Pistons, is living in the paint because of Cade. Gavin, do you buy or sell running a zone defense? And if that could potentially, change things a bit for the Knicks here.
I sell it because, well, maybe there's a reason to buy it. So, but the Knicks have not played zone, I think, maybe more than a couple minutes this year. And even when times where they've sort of been in a zone, I'm like, is this just a weird man? Or they're just like tilting their defense towards a particular player? It's not something they really do. It's not something that most NBA teams do with a whole lot of frequency outside of the Heat, who've kind of been known to throw it in as a curveball. Really difficult thing to do at the NBA level. I think this defense playing basic man and like executing like at times what should be basic switches has found a way to boggle those. They players like Josh Hart like consistently get beat back door. So I think right now the Knicks are having enough issues fixing their own like base defense that I don't think it would be a great idea to incorporate a zone. I also don't. I think sometimes people throw that out as a catch-all, and I do appreciate it again as a change of pace. Like if it's targeted and designed specifically for opponent. I don't know if that necessarily works perfectly against this Pistons team. Like I think generally the game plan was good in game one. I didn't hate the game plan in game two. Like Detroit, part of it was bad shooting. They finished with 100 points. The Knicks should win every single game. Any team in the NBA scores 100 against them, except maybe against the Thunder. But I don't know. I know you've suggested in the past. So do you buy that they should play some zone?
I'm kind of with you. I buy that it could work in theory, but I sell that they should try it at this stage because it's the same deal as like kind of what I was talking about in the last thing. It's like if Tibbs hasn't prepared the team to play zone, then like you don't want to bust that out in game 3 of the playoffs and just hope that it works. Even though pretty much every person that's ever played basketball has played a 3-2 zone at times, but like at an NBA level, like you have to operate it at a higher level. You have to have a little bit better of a sense of where all your teammates are going to be, whether you have the latitude to cheat over on someone to try to get a steal or whatever, if there's going to be a security blanket behind you. That said, had the Knicks been like practicing zone and using it, it probably could have won them last game because like I think that would have walled off the paint, would have taken away a lot of what the Pistons were doing, particularly in like the third quarter when they had like a really good run where they just kept getting all the way to the basket like 5-6 times in a row. You could have blocked that off and then they weren't making threes. So that could have allowed you to potentially execute that comeback a little sooner than like last minute in the fourth quarter where they had to kind of expend all their energy and then just die on the vine. So yeah, I'm buying that it could work. I'm selling that they should do it because I just don't I don't think that it's tenable at this point. Get to that in the offseason, hopefully with a new coach. And maybe it'll work better next year. But anyway, last one for this segment. And this one we could do really quick. I'll use this as an opportunity to just plug our mailbag episode from yesterday because we talked about this literally yesterday. But the _chosen1_12, whatever, says there's literally no way anyone enjoys watching Brunson play. That is god awful, ugly basketball. The way he thrashes his head around and foul baiting is so disgustingly ugly to watch. Someone please tell me you enjoy watching this. We literally both said yesterday that we buy it and that we do enjoy watching Brunson. So I'm going to speak for you and just throw us to our last segment and say, yes, we do in fact enjoy watching Jalen Brunson play at his best. He's a captivating basketball player and is amazing. So stop saying it. It's stupid. It's a stupid narrative. He's a skilled basketball player. He's fun to watch. You're mad that he's not on your team because nobody on your team is doing the same stuff. But that's the way that he plays basketball and generates points. So that's cool. Anyway, all right. In the next segment, we're going to talk about if Mike Malone might be a Knicks coach candidate, and then whether the Cat and Bridges trades were worth it, and a few other things to close this one out as we continue buying or selling your comments on game 2 in just a moment.
But first, we want to tell you about our good friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game, especially if you're at MSG. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be a part of it all without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Price in the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Here's why I use Game Time, man. I love the priority last-minute tickets. For years and years and years, I lived just about a mile walk from MSG, and it's the best thing in the world to see, like, hey, I could sneak in for $60. You normally can't do that. And Game Time, again, lets you save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets, not only for sports, but concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The all-in pricing means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
All right. So let's get into, sorry, Gavin, I'm just going to throw us right into it.
Yeah, go for
let's
it.
get into these final buys and sells. So our buddy Paul, I think I nailed it, but he could correct me in the comments if not. So Paul Major 3274, who has received, again, according to when I copied this out of YouTube, received some of the highest number of hearts from us. You're always in our heart, Paul. Any chance of getting Mike Malone this offseason? I'm getting sick of Tibbs's ignorance and stubbornness. Gavin, do you buy Mike Malone should be near or at the top of the Knicks coaching search list should they move on from Tibbs this year?
No, I don't buy it. I would like to do more research. I would love to talk to our good friends over at Locked On Nuggets about some of the strengths and weaknesses of Mike Malone. To me, again, in a very macro sense, because I've not watched enough Nuggets to be familiar with the specifics, seems very similar to Tibbs, older coach from the Northeast. His life is basketball, very rigid in his rotations, somewhat rigid in his style of play. I do think Denver runs beautiful offense. I think some of that is based around having the greatest passing big man and probably one of the top 5 to 10 passers that's ever touched a basketball before, which the Knicks, they have a pretty good one in Cat. They certainly don't have that. I think it is a lot of the same as Tibbs. And if I'm getting a new coach, I'm going opposite direction, younger, creative, probably more in the Mark Daigneault, JJ Redick mold of young coach.
Yeah. I mean, first off, I'll correct Paul and I guess myself. It's Michael Malone. It's not Mike Malone. I'll still never. That is honestly the moment that I kind of jumped off of the Malone experience was when
Did he say that? I'm not even aware of that happening.
Yes, very famously, he one year, maybe it was right after the title, decided he was no longer Mike Malone and was now Michael Malone.
Yeah, well, once
And
you win a championship, you go full name. That's not
right. And then, but then the worst part was that he made this change and I guess started putting it into the press junkets or whatever. But then Cassidy Hubbard, who was in like one of her first couple years, I think, doing the sideline reporting for ESPN, went up to him for one of those like mid-quarter interviews, was like, "Hey, Mike, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about this?" And he was like, "It's Michael." And she was like, "What?" And he's like, "It's Michael." And she was like, "Okay, Michael, can you answer my question now?" I'm like, yeah, the fact the guy is so far up his own butt that he would embarrass a sideline reporter to not call him by his nickname. I don't know. I feel like I can't quite put my finger on it. I think it maybe just is that I think that he's a little too full of himself, and it comes through in the way that he speaks about how he coaches and
Mhm.
everything. But I just don't feel like that's the right energy for this team at this point, because I think that there's a little bit of that in Tibbs's game too. Go figure that they're both kind of like from the same coaching tree and like came up together in the league, but like they both seem to have that sort of self assuredness that I don't necessarily think would be right for this team either. Even if I do think that he would present a better offensive coach, I just think that he has also been a guy who has been accused of burying good players in favor of guys that he has deemed his favorites and
Vets
stuff
in
like that.
particular. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So not super into that idea. So I would say probably sell the idea of putting Mike Malone near the top of my coaching list as well. Let's power through these last couple ones. So Green uh, A4XN, whatever,
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
says, "This is what happens when you have a good team and you trade it all away for Cat and Bridges." Shrug emoji. And Knicks fans were so desperate to have a star in a Knicks jersey that they were okay with it. Shaking my head. Gavin, buy or sell? Was it a mistake to trade for Cat and Bridges and not just roll the dice with the team again from last year?
Um, well, they didn't really control losing Hartenstein, who was probably the most important piece out of those guys. I think TBD on the cat trade. Mikal, maybe for the pick outlay, was a mistake. But the premise of this question was that like the Knicks had a championship roster, and without Isaiah Hartenstein, I don't think they did. So I'm gonna sell it the way this is framed.
I'm also going to sell it. I think you had to, if you get the chance to make that move, especially the Cat move, I don't know how you can look at that and be like they got hosed in that deal or anything. Like I
Also,
get that.
Randall wasn't coming back. Like they knew they
Yeah,
weren't going to pay Randall what he wanted to get paid. So that
right.
has to be taken into account.
That has to be taken into account, and the fact that like in theory at that moment you figured, oh, Mikhail will be sort of like a bigger, better version of Dante and what Dante was last year. We've seen that that's not quite the case. Obviously, this year doesn't quite have that like unconscious quick trigger or anything like that. But either way, I don't think it was like a mistake. I think that they did put a lot of their eggs in the basket. I think they just now this offseason need to really take a look and say, do we have the right coach for this roster? Can we get the right coach for this roster? And what flexibility do we still have to get better going forward? Because they do have a couple year runway to try to turn this into a title team. So hopefully they take good advantage of it. Ant Boogie 3550. This one will be a quick one. This one, I love getting told that we're idiots. These guys are wrong a lot. Lol. I
Oh, I saw
remember
that.
both
Yeah.
I remember both these guys saying the Knicks were better than Cavs because they couldn't get that series out of their heads 2 years ago. I hope they learned it's not 2023 anymore, lol. Good luck getting out of the first round if you can, lol. First off, stop saying lol so much, Ant Boogie. And secondly, yeah, of course we can't get the series out of our heads 2 years ago. The Knicks freaking stomped the Cavs 2 years ago. What are we supposed to do? Forget it? It was fun. It was awesome. Anyway, Gavin, do you buy or sell that we're big dumb idiots?
I buy that the lights were too bright.
There you go. I do too. All right, next one. So last couple here. WM Briggs says you all started your very first day advocating Tibbs firing. So same old story. All the bench players are negative plus minus, but don't let facts get in the way of your agenda. Look at what's happening throughout the league. Teams without effective bench players are losing. It is that simple. To blame the coaches of the Nuggets and Knicks because the bench is bad, isn't that just silly? Gavin, you buy that the Knicks bench is so bad that Tibbs shouldn't be able to pull out wins against the Pistons?
Well, first of all, Mitchell Robinson was a +3, so that's wrong. Campaign and Landry Shamet played a combined 9 minutes. So if you want to read into that, go ahead. Deuce has been a major positive all year. Payne, for that matter, has been a major positive. Shamet, second best net rating on the team. Mitch has arguably been their most consistent player through 2 games. So now I don't think they have a world beater bench. I do think they have a bench capable of contributing a lot more than they have. So I'm gonna really hard sell that one.
I'm hard selling it as well. Every team in the NBA now is front heavy in terms of like salaries and stuff, and then builds their bench out with like guys on mid-level exceptions and minimum contracts. Like we saw, I think this past offseason, thanks to the new salary cap rules, like more guys than ever were taking minimum deals to come off the bench for good teams. And the Knicks did, I think, about as good as anybody in that regard. Like, they didn't get like Gary Trent Jr., for example, which I felt like was one of the bigger coups of the offseason, at least back at the time. But I mean, they got Campaign, who's an effective player. They have Deuce on like nearly a minimum contract, which is a huge steal. They have Mitch still coming off the bench, who is honestly a starter level player that just doesn't, based off how this team is constructed and how Tibbs wants to play, it just isn't a starter on this team. Like, they have a good bench. And Landry Shamet, too, who has been just a lights out 3-point shooter. They have talent on the bench. To pretend they don't to defend Tibbs is stupid. It's doing those players a disservice. So hard sell. All right, last one, Gavin. Enerj88 says, this is not on the team. This is on the officiating. They'll get the things together, but you're playing against Detroit, plus the ridiculous free throws of Detroit, where they were more physical and got away with pretty much everything. And when the Knicks did the same exact thing, there were no calls at all. Nobody was flopping. And if they had to flop, I'm sorry. How many scary falls were there last night? I don't remember that many scary falls, if I'm being completely honest. But Gavin, do you buy that the officiating is extremely Detroit favored?
It wasn't, I don't think it was great last night. Like the play where Cade just took OG out under the basket stood out to me, but it was maybe it was in Detroit's favor last night. I don't know. We like, fans can never process this, but you see every missed call against the Knicks. You don't notice the missed calls going the other way generally. So I don't like to fall back on that. And also, like, the Knicks, frankly, no refs absolutely did not deserve to win yesterday. So I'm going to sell it just as a concept of an excuse.
Yeah, I'm selling it as well. And I mean, I noted the free throw discrepancy, but I'm generally of the belief, like, if it comes down to the end of a game and you have to claim that the officiating, it cost you the game, and it wasn't just like a bad call right at the end of the game that cost you the game, then you've probably already lost. Like, you should have just found a different way to win the game at that point. And the Knicks' whole strategy was just to try to draw fouls, and it worked quite well down the stretch of the game, I might add. It just wasn't working super great early in the game, but late in the game they got all kinds of foul calls. And if they could have been just 20% more creative and created some more organic looks for guys outside of just having Brunson try to draw fouls, things could have potentially gone a lot better. So I'm not willing to blame the officiating for the loss and say that like the fix was in or something, which is what the implication seems to be here. So I'm selling that as well. And that's today's episode. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for commenting. If you want us to potentially do this again, comment a bunch on our game 3 recap, which will be up after tomorrow's game, or after, rather, by the time this is out, after tonight's game. So yeah, definitely keep hitting us with comments. Maybe you'll get featured next time, and maybe we can buy or sell your comment. But anyway, thank you all for listening. We'll be back with a game recap from game 3, and then some more great episodes for you guys as the week goes on. Maybe even a bonus of Gavin being on the radio this week, which was kind of cool. So we got all kinds of stuff coming up. But until then, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.